It is the golden one. It is Ricky Goldman, and this is not a strike, but it is something different. A wrestling year review wrestling, the ups and downs of pro wrestling, the surprises, the disappointments. But I'm not alone here. I'm going to bring in my tag team partner, Evil Dos of the Malachi. It is Jeff.
Evil Dos is not at a loss today because we know who fell from grace and who just fell. Sometimes it was COVID. Sometimes it was other things. We've got a list and we're going to be counting down. Next.
And how are you today, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. How are you? Cheerio. Top of the morning to you. Step up or lift. Lip. Top.
How are you today?
I am just fine. How about yourself?
I'm okay, yes.
That's good. I'm glad I'm entertaining you. I hope the audience is having a good time.
Yes, and if we'll kick off by saying everybody to like, love, share, and get your comments in. We'd love to hear your thoughts, the audience's thoughts. So, do you want to kick this off, Jeff?
Sure, I'll be happy to. I want to tell the listener or the viewer, the audience, just a little bit as to my internal matrix, which is subjective, of course, and your lists would probably be different. But what I tried to do is figure out who fell the furthest. So sometimes it was because of how high they were to how far they fell, but sometimes it was just how serious the fall was. And I tried to internally factor those things in so that if someone had a title and fell off the face of the earth, that might be more important than somebody who just had a really wretched year or something terrible happened to them. So you will almost undoubtedly find things you disagree with in the order. But yeah, I'm going to start with 15. And some of these falls from grace probably started outside of this 12-month period. But this is a guy who had all the potential in the world. He was let go sort of famously well before the COVID era. Very big man, was with a successful gimmick, was attempting to make a bit of a comeback, had some more setbacks, some medical, and then just disappeared. Haven't heard a thing about him since. So I'm talking about a 7-footer. You can't teach that. Where is Big Cass?
Oh yes, where is he? Yeah, I didn't think of him at all. Yeah, exactly. Where is he? He seems to have just disappeared.
Yeah, that was my 15. So I'm going to go 15-1. So I mean, you can chat on Big Cass if you like. You can go straight to your 15 or tell the good folks how you sort of evaluated it internally. If you can explain your algorithm to the simple minds out there.
We'll discuss Big Cass first. Yeah, he's had all the potential in the world. Fairly big name in WWE. Never really got that push in WWE. Could have done, but didn't. And I think he was going to do, then got injured and his career over. And then I think he did a little bit of the indies, and then now he just disappeared.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts about him?
We're going to be in a program where they invaded Ring of Honor. That they showed up once on Ring of Honor TV, a couple of promo vignettes, then nothing. Then next we saw Cass. It was, hey, Charmaine, doing well. Thank you for tuning in. He had like a stroke or a seizure or something, and nobody. I mean,
Jesus.
Not nobody. I haven't heard anything about him since. And I keep my ear pretty close to the ground.
Yeah, just well, I think the last I heard of him, I think he was going to do an indie show early this year before all this virus thing, and now just disappeared. So hope he's doing well. Didn't he say something on the network? I think it was on the network or something. I watched something anyway. It said he had a lot of very bad depression.
Yeah, he was definitely having his struggles with mental health, but he did try to make a comeback or two after that. Now, the stroke or the seizure, whatever it was, may have been related to that. May have been related to medicine, a side effect. Maybe it was totally different. I just don't know. All I know is that this man was 7 feet tall. He had gotten himself in some great shape. He was, in WWE, and now he's off the radar entirely. I mean, I wish him well. There's always a room for a 7-footer in wrestling.
Yeah. Hopefully once this fight, whenever, most probably next year, the end of next year, is when this virus thing stops. Hopefully he comes back into wrestling. Maybe WWE can re-sign him, possibly. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm sure they can. Question is if they want to. They're not really in a signing mode, or so it doesn't seem. Do you have a 15, or you just want me to go down my list?
Well, my list is can be random. I'm not really prepared anything here, but I'll think of. I can think of a few good things and a few bad things. So, if you want, I can go to my 15. I'm going to start with good, I think, and someone that has had a killer year, someone that has killed it, someone that WWE could have signed. Tessa Blanchard, your first ever Women's Impact World Champion. A lot of controversy with the title. We're going to take it off her, and then she didn't want to give it back. But apparently she's back now, back in Impact, and won the title. I think she lost the title and regained it, if I remember. Jeff?
Well, Tessa, I mean, yeah, she's had a terrible year. The only thing I disagree with you is the placement. I have her much further up on my list. But yeah, we can certainly chat about her now, and then when I get to it, it'll be a pretty short segment on that at that point. But yeah, I mean, she could have done anything. The wrestling world was all hers, and around the same time that she won the men's championship, after I think holding the women's championship at some point as well, she got called out around the speaking out movement time for basically racist comments, which seemed to be supported. But in addition to those racist comments or comment that she made, there were a number, and by a number was a double-digit number of women wrestlers who came out and basically just said she was terrible to work with in various ways, from basically keeping them down, blackballing them from other promotions, bullying, what you name it, it ran the gamut. And maybe in a different era, some of that stuff would have been water under the bridge, but altogether, it seemed to prove to be too much. And around the same time, she declined to give Impact back their World Championship title belt. She was holding it hostage. She wanted something like, I don't know, $15,000 for it or something, maybe more. And I mean, whatever it was more than the belt was worth. And I don't think they ever pay her. Yes, she got married. She married actually Daga, who is a Mexican wrestler who you may remember from, he was actually on Lucha Underground for a few years and actually joined the Reptile Clan or the Lizard Clan for a while. I think he was actually the king of the Lizard Clan for a bit. But yeah, that's her husband. She got married this year, and I think she spends most of her time in Mexico.
Is she's a Impact? I watch bits of Impact. I don't really watch Impact at all, really, but I'm aware of it. I know bits of what's going on. Is she champion again?
Is she the champion again?
Yeah, women's champion.
I don't think that she holds. I don't think that she's working. I don't think that she works for any promotion. I don't know. I can't tell you she's not doing indie shows in Mexico, but I don't think she's with either CMLL or AAA. So I don't know what she's doing. What's up, Lewis?
Yeah, I only watch. I'm aware of bits happening in Impact, but I don't watch full shows or the pay-per-views or anything.
All right. Well, my next one, my 14, is a guy that he wasn't really with a big promotion, but he had a big gimmick that really seemed to be catching on. One of those things that was a little bit silly, but was just silly enough that wrestling fans loved it, and he was in the right promotion where people really wanted to like whatever they were doing. And, COVID kicked in and this promotion sort of went defunct for a while. He is working. He's since changed gimmicks, but it's not going to be the same. It's like he had sort of like a mini rocket strapped to him, and now he's just going to be back to being a guy in a minor major, and that is the question mark.
Who?
That's the name, the question mark. He was also Josephus, and now he goes by Kratos Jr.
No, never heard of him.
He's a current tag team champion in the NWA or UWN. I'm not really sure the difference, with Aaron Stevens, who was Aaron Rex, and most people probably remember as Damien Sandow.
Yes. Well, yeah, but I've heard of the Damien Sandow's in NWA. I'm aware of that, but this other guy, no.
Well, the question mark was sort of a novelty act, and he sort of got big around the same time Orange Cassidy got big in AEW, and it was sort of funny because they're equally ridiculous characters, but because the NWA fans insisted it was old school wrestling, the question mark was definitely not a ridiculous character, even though he was from Monrovia and only said karate. but anyway, enough time I spent on the question mark. I guess you don't have much to add to it since you weren't sure who he was, so I guess we're going on to you to your 14.
I think I'll go with a company, and a company that's, see, there's so many to choose from. Company that's not doing well, I think. Okay, we'll go with the American one. Ring of Honor. I think they were doing very, very well. The shows were booming. I actually been to a Ring of Honor show last October. I thought it was good. A very good show. Not a decent crowd, but was good. I was more than happy to go. My first ever Ring of Honor show, so kind of I've done WWE Impact, Ring of Honor. And I thought they were getting back on track. They had some good stars. Rush is very good. PCO, still good at his age. But now, because of the COVID thing, no crowds. The thing with Mike Bennett coming back, that would have been fantastic in front of a crowd, a great pop. But now, unlike most other companies right now, they just seem to be going downhill. And this is unfortunately the end for them. What do you think?
I thought about Ring of Honor. They didn't make my list, but that doesn't mean that you're wrong. You made a lot of good points there. It wasn't just COVID that hit them. They hired someone to be their head booker, and he also had his own series of problems, and they had some other problems with Me Too, and some of their wrestlers on social media exposed themselves to be, well, real twats. But they didn't make my list because they were on the upswing going into January or February. They restarted production. They've been very safe. They've had no COVID incidents. They had a bubble. They did the Pure Championship tournament, which was very well received, and they've started new episodes, and they're planning their first pay-per-view of the year. So, and they brought in some new people, and it looks like some people are out, but they're not quite dead yet. And also they're owned by Sinclair, which is a $1 billion company, which owns something like 200 TV stations, and they run on all 200 of them. And then they, run as a leased product on some other local stations around the country and the world. And they still have their Honor Club. As far as we know, they still have their working arrangement with New Japan. I'm not sure about NWA. That may have fallen by the wayside, but we don't know that for sure. So I'm going to say that they're still alive, if nothing else, because they make enough money off of MyPillow commercials and personal injury attorneys and Medicare equipment. So I think that they're still alive. Eva Marie? Yeah, I do think that she is coming back to WWE. I don't think AEW would or should have any interest in her.
I think she comes back at the Rumble. Someone's go after the SmackDown Women's title, I think. Maybe Roman's title. Asuka's got nobody to challenge her, so maybe her.
I guess it's my turn. Charmaine, Dan Maff, he had some problems as well, and he's a free agent now. He was with Ring of Honor. I'm not sure Dan Maff is signable. He has some controversy. I don't know all the details about it, and I know he denies some of the worst of it, which sounds sort of stupid saying I don't know what it is, but it was in the speaking out arena. Now I know he's a family man now, and he seems like a nice guy. We have some mutual friends, so I don't know anything about the veracity of it, but I think he's someone that's not famous enough, and there's too much toxicity to touch. Plus, he's not a young guy; he's in his 40s, so I don't know. But Jay and Mark Briscoe, they signed last year a multi-year extension with Ring of Honor.
Oh, Edge. They're Mark and Jay and Mark Briscoe are a draw. I've met them. Very nice guys. They seem to be crazy, but are definitely a draw. When do I think Edge is coming back for the Rumble? I think he's going to win it.
I'm not sure Edge is going to come back. I mean, he's 47 years old and tore his tricep, so I'm not saying I'm saying it's an if, not a when. But if he comes back, I mean, if he heals normally, it's supposed to be sometime in the winter. I imagine he picks up his program with Randy Orton right now, who looks to be in a program with The Fiend. So around that time, that program should be closing one way or another. So it does make some sense. But, you know, if people remember Edge's contract, it was 3 one-year contracts with WWE's option to renew it. So first, WWE has to renew the option. Secondly, it was $3 million a year for 3 matches a year. Now, I don't know if that means 3 in-ring matches or 3 appearances. So even if Edge comes back, you're not getting a lot out of him.
$1 million for 1 match. That's ridiculous.
It is, but they believe that these big names get them some attention and get them some views. I'm not sure if they're right or wrong, but hey.
Would he retire? It's time for 3 years, so no. Well, that's a rumor anyway.
If he does, would he retire? I mean,
if Edge comes back,
what does retirement mean in wrestling?
Like Undertaker.
Yeah, I mean, Jazz retired earlier this year, and she's now in the Impact Knockout tournament. All right, I think we're up to me and 13. So this is someone who went from champion to chump in less than 1 year, and again, this is before COVID and anything else. So in the beginning, this was a sympathetic figure who sort of went public with their wage dispute. They wanted to be paid a whopping $24,000 a year. They were getting somewhere between $12,000 and $20,000 a year as the Ring of Honor World's Women's Champion, Kelly Klein. In that public dispute, she was backed up by her trainer, Joey Mercury, and then it turned out that she was having an affair with Joey Mercury. And while she was backed up initially by her husband, BJ Whitmer, I think his name was Whitmer, he then found out about the affair, publicly filed divorce, slammed her. He's now an agent with AEW. And so Kelly Klein, not heard from since. She was also out injured with concussion at the time. So she's I mean, I don't mean to giggle at that, but she's also injured. She injured her reputation. She lost her husband, and she may have lost her job too. I believe she was either a teacher or like a gym teacher or coach or both at a local high school. I think they lived in Ohio or Arkansas, somewhere in the heartland. Anyway, Kelly Klein from champion to who in less than 1 year?
I vaguely the Kelly Klein, but again, vaguely, I couldn't tell you any matches she's been in, but I've heard her name around. So I'm kind of no help on this, really.
That's okay. All right. We can move straight to your next choice.
So 13, I think I'll keep it with good again. Again, another person who has a killer year. Former AEW champion, one of the greatest of all time, 30 years. Incredible. None other than Le Champion, Chris Jericho. The face of AEW, massive star.
Ooh.
Is that one of yours?
That's a big call. No, go on. I like it.
Yeah, like I said, face of AEW, massive star. Over, completely over. He's the crowd, the fans sing his theme, and he's heel. Wow. He definitely put AEW on the map. The match, and now he's putting over younger guys. So he's won the title, big name winning the title, putting AEW on the map, and now in putting over people like MJF, Orange Cassidy. So yeah, Jericho, definitely a highlight of 2020, definitely a highlight of the COVID era. What do you think?
I'm not ready to endorse that one. I see where you're going with it, but I don't think he's quite a drunk uncle yet. I could see he might be trending in that direction, but I think he still is one of the faces of AEW, and he's still in a lot of major stories, and that inner circle is now 7 strong, and they've got a whole bunch of stories revolving around them. He comes out and everybody sings his song, so anything he says, makes its way to a T-shirt, and 8 out of 10 of those things sell. So I can't, as the kids say, I can't co-sign that, but I respect the bravado there and the bold choice of picking one of the biggest stars in the industry as a flame out for the year. So that was bold.
What about Christy Hemme?
What about Christy Hemme? I don't know when the last time she was even in wrestling. I think her flame out probably started 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I've not heard of anything. I think I saw her on some interview on YouTube, and that was about it. Since I've just not done anything for a long while.
All right. Well, my next guy, number 12, unlucky number 12, is somebody who never made it to the big times, but he's big time in the indie circles, or at least he was. Also considered sort of like the indie Sami Zayn, the SJW, always on the right side of everything, talking about workers' rights and unionization. And he just got exposed and slaughtered in the speaking out movement, and made some ridiculous video or apology afterwards that was completely half-hearted. And I haven't heard hide nor hair of him first. I have to admit, I always got the creeps from this guy for whatever reason. Never saw much of him as a wrestler anyway. Just seemed like another undersized, jumpy guy. But David Starr, from top indie star to black hole.
Wow. Where do we begin? I've actually met David Starr. Nice enough guy. Well, I no problem with him. And from what I was seeing when I saw him live, fantastic in the ring. But from what I've heard, one dirty person, abused women, beat them up, done some horrible things, used women, just anything imaginable you can think of he's done with women, he's done it. And could have been a big name. Was going places. And now he's nothing. And it deserves to be nothing and never work ever again. But yeah, wow. What's your thoughts on him?
Well, he was my pick, so
okay.
I gave him my thoughts.
All right, then.
I guess it's your turn to pick your 12.
I'm going to go back and forth. Good, bad, I think. So bad. And something I could do a whole show on the UK wrestling scene. Apart from NXT UK and companies working with WWE, the scene is dying. Few companies, and a company I used to go to, are trying to put on shows, and here we're going to have another lockdown next month. Most of the companies here, going out to bars, pubs, to bars, they could be closed until March. So wrestling could not. So British wrestling could be gone for an entire year. And when it does come back, social distancing and it could be dead. hopefully WWE can help out other companies and work with other companies and give them money. Otherwise, the UK wrestling scene is gone. That's nobody wants that. Certainly not me. So not any UK wrestling fan. Nobody. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, obviously, you are the local expert, the man on the ground, even though Adrian's wall is a circle around you because they've decided to pen you up. But yeah, I have heard the same, that UK wrestling was basically being sort of beaten up by NXT UK anyway. They were pilfering a lot of the talents and, and that sort of thing. Though, I mean, it's hard to say that if you have NXT UK, it's destroying the British wrestling scene. I can understand why it's affecting local promotions, but not being there, I don't have much more to comment on that. But I know that PAC was doing things. There was Rev Pro and some other, but yeah, I've heard a lot about the British promotions folding. There's only a handful of them left of any size, and I imagine that some of the European wrestlers got stuck in Europe or wherever they were internationally and couldn't participate. So there's probably been a talent dearth. And then the speaking out movement sort of, took out another solid handful. Some of the names we know, like Jack Gallagher, from NXT UK is gone. And he didn't make my list only because I didn't think he was a big enough star to be there. Though arguably he certainly could have been, but there were so many people that were sort of in the same lane. He didn't make my cut, but he's an example of someone that I've heard of from UK wrestling who no longer is in UK wrestling. And there were other names. I've lost them now. I know Jordan Devlin had some issues, but he seems to have survived the storm, at least for now. But yeah, I agree. UK wrestling is a good choice, but obviously it's not on my list because I'm not from the UK. But I certainly understand why it makes yours, and I'm glad that it did. Not because I'm glad that it happened, but because we get that perspective from you as to just how bad it is.
Yeah, very bad. Let's cover the end, like I say.
All right, well, on that segue, my number 11 is a countryman of yours. This is a gentleman who I've always not thought much of. Actually, I didn't know who he was until about 4 or 5 years ago. I'd heard the name. He's been around a long time, but he had made it to the big time. He made his way to MLW, then to AEW. Limited role, but still he was on their payroll. Had a few notorious events there. One where he got choked out by an announcer, a retired wrestler announcer. And there were also some drug and alcohol abuse rumors swirling around him really for a long time. But I think there were also some speaking out sexual abuse allegations, which were new at least to me. So I am, of course, talking about Jimmy Havoc, who went from AEW to he's in rehab, and then 30 days later basically got his release and probably will never work again.
Yeah, Jimmy Havoc. Again, see another person I've met. And he was, again, nice with me. All these people that in the speaking out thing have been nice when I met them. Anyway, one crazy person, he abuses his body.
Do we have to do commercials, by the way?
Yeah, we'll do. Okay, then we'll do one. Okay, well, do a commercial now, and then
because we're at 10. So if we do one now and then at 5,
I'll pick up from what I was saying. So we'll play a very quick commercial. Give me a second. Okay, I'll play this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this edition of Unpopular Review. While you're at it, why don't you give us a follow on these beautiful social media platforms known as Facebook and Twitter at Unpopular Review. But there's another one. Give us a follow on Instagram. We got funny pictures, we got updates, and we have things where we tell you everything that's going on. So why don't you give us a follow on Instagram at unpopular.review. And now, back to the show.
Oh, we're back. Hey.
So yeah, please do go like, love, share if you're watching this on YouTube. Do subscribe. If you're on Instagram, follow us. And yeah, so Jimmy Havoc, I've used his body like nobody else, like really crazy. Have you heard of CZW? Jeff?
WCZ's, what do you say?
CZ
CZW is your number 10?
No, have you heard of CZW?
CZW? Combat Zone Wrestling? Yes. Sure.
Okay, he won the Tournament of Death. Wow. And then hit the big time was very big on the indie scene over here, hit the big time in AEW. I thought it was fantastic. Congratulations for him. And then rehab and nothing. So it's unfortunate for him. What about Mr. Anderson? Isn't he NWA?
No, he got canned from NWA. He did not make my list, Charmaine, because he got canned from NWA sort of towards the beginning of the second half of season 1. So it was before our COVID era, and he's an older guy, and he was already sort of down towards the bottom. So he wasn't really catching fire there. So he didn't make my list, but I appreciate the call out.
6 times I've met Mr. Anderson, Mr. Kennedy. So is it my number 10, I think?
Who's your 10? Or 11? I guess we're on 11, right?
Okay, 11. I'm kind of just thinking as I go along, really. This person should really be higher, but I've just thought of him now. Something good this year. Had a killer year. One of the greatest of all time. The Viper himself, Randy Orton. Won the WWE Championship this year. What a role he's been on, killing the legends. Christian, Ric Flair, Big Show, Shawn Michaels, so on and so on. Orton's as good now as he's ever been. I'd expect him to pass Ric Flair. People are saying it's going to be Cena. No, I think it's going to be Flair. I think Cena's done more or less. No, I think it's going to be Orton. I think Cena's done. If anyone's going to do it, it'll be Orton. So incredible year Orton's had from all this crap that's going on. He's made the best of it. What's your opinion on Orton?
So you were saying that Randy Orton is number 11 on your list of falls from grace?
I'm going back and forth of good things, bad things this year.
Oh, I see. Okay, all right, I got you.
Right. Okay.
I don't know. I think Randy Orton is who he's always been. Has moments where he's more interesting than others. His promos with Edge were good, but the matches were horrendously long. Randy Orton, he's going to get his 16 titles. He had his 2-week reign now just to get to 14. I don't know. I'm sort of agnostic on Randy Orton. He's like one of those people who's probably going to make everyone's time list and probably wouldn't make my top 400.
Wow. Do you think he surpasses Ric Flair?
I don't think anyone surpasses Ric Flair. If anyone gets close, they'll just start acknowledging more of his title run. But I think it is extremely likely that he will tie Ric Flair along with John Cena.
Well, isn't Ric Flair's actually 24, not 16? But anyway, let's not get into that.
Yeah. It depends how many gin and tonics he's had that night.
But go on, you're number 10.
All right, so this is my bottom 10. I'm doing only bad, not good and bad. Now I know what you're up to, Ricky. You're keeping me off my balance. That's fine.
Right, sorry.
This is same story as David Starr, except fivefold, and reached more mainstream success. But a disgusting guy. Also SJW type, though his gimmick was anything but. Famous for the dick flip. Anyway, my number 10 is Joey Ryan, who hopefully will also never work again. And he probably would have been higher, except he never made it that high career-wise. And there were so many people who got sort of outed in this controversial sort of tidal wave that they sort of all blend together. But him and David Starr really stood out for me in those ranks.
Joey Ryan, wow. I'll make this as quick as I can. You can just see by looking at him, and he has the dick flip that he's some dirty, dirty person. Jim Cornette's never liked Joey Ryan, and I can see why. He's got no skill. He has to dick flip somebody. Like, who does that? But yes, one dirty person. All the stories I think are true, and I think he's done them, and they're just horrific and very bad. It's very bad reading, and thank God he's never going to work again. Thank God he's out the rest of the business. He's a disgrace.
Yeah, my first introduction to him was Lucha Underground. So I liked the '80s character. I liked the sleazy guy. I thought it was funny. Hey, Charmaine, she is doing great. She's in the other room. She declined to come on camera tonight. I don't know why. Well, I don't know if you'll ever see that, Mike, but I think a lot of people want to see that.
Probably not.
Yeah, but then, so I learned about Joey sort of backwards, then I learned about his indie stuff and the dick flip stuff, and at All In when he had the penis druids. And, for a while I was a bit of a Joey Ryan apologist because I knew him from Lucha Underground and he made me laugh. I didn't think he was a great wrestler. I just thought that the sleazy gimmick was fun. Oh, and I had seen him on something called Pop Wrestling, which I think now might be Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, but it wasn't in Hollywood. It was at Sam's Town in Las Vegas. Like Gangrel was the promoter and Jesse Sorensen was the main face. Anyway, he did the same sleazy character there. He didn't do any dick flips. He was just the sleazy 80s guy with the hair, the mustache, the glasses, the members only jacket, the oil. He cracked me up. And then I learned all this stuff about him from some podcasts and et cetera. And it looked like he actually lived the gimmick. And his front was a facade. So, yeah, good riddance, Mr. Ryan. Oh, his apology was terrible, by the way. And then I don't know if you watched this, but he posted a video saying, I'm going to prove my innocence. So he goes on, his first piece of proof was, my first piece of proof is that Candace was my best friend and I would never do that to her. That's not proof. I mean, that was his lead piece of proof, and it got worse from there. And the language he used, the verbiage, was lifted almost word for word from a paragraph from somebody else who's going to make my list later on their apology statement. So obviously it was disingenuous because he basically plagiarized and part of an apology. But if anyone has the Constitution to watch his exoneration video, I couldn't make it through all 50. I think it was 58 minutes. I made it through about 26 or 27 minutes. And it was just utter nonsense. It was obnoxious. It was an insult to my intelligence. So, again, take two on au revoir, Joey Ryan.
And I heard, the latest I heard, he was going to sue Impact. He's not. What the hell is it?
He sued for millions and millions of dollars. And he also sued some of the accusers. This is the only good part about this. Is that he also sued Impact and not just the accusers. So at least there's a deep pocket defendant there, not for settlement purposes, but for defense purposes. Because those women, if they had to defend a suit like this, if they don't have significant resources, they would have been bankrupted. So I'm very glad for that. The second thing is the discovery and the fact finding this is going to tell us a lot about Impact contracts, how much Joey Ryan made or didn't make, how much anyone made or didn't make. All of these things, because he's alleging he lost $20 million, which is absurd. He hasn't made $20 million in the aggregate of his entire life, and he won't for the aggregate of the rest of his life, even if none of this ever happened. So we're going to find a lot of information. It's going to be a treasure trove of news items, but gross. Mike, listen, there's no doubt that Tessa is an enormous talent, a great athlete. I think she's third generation, but a lot of people spoke. And in this era, you can't be horrible to everyone. I do think Tessa will come back at some point, but I don't know where, and I don't know exactly how. But I don't think her career is over, but it's definitely tarnished.
As on Charlotte, I think she returns at the Rumble as well.
Yeah, Charlotte's definitely coming back. Absolutely.
Shotski versus Bailey in the future. Well, they're on separate brands. So
In that, eventually, but I don't think it's on the. I wouldn't schedule it on my event horizon anytime soon. Maybe in 3 or 4 years. I mean, Shotzi is eons behind Bailey.
but very good looking. So
listen, I'm not going to say that she's not. She's not my cup of tea, but no, she's very attractive. Listen, she may well, she's sort of like Darby Allin in that she's maybe a little bit too reckless. I don't know that she gets there. Is it my turn or yours? I think we're up to your number 10, and you're up to something bad. So don't give me something good now.
okay, so I'm going to go to it. Right then, another company, another fairly big company, Impact. Again, they were doing well. Actually, no, I'm not going to change it. No, forget that. I didn't really say that. You want me to run with that? Okay, sorry.
I want you to do whatever you want. I just can't imagine what's bigger than that.
But the huge thing that happened earlier this year, in the middle of COVID, the release of 20, 30 WWE superstars. I think it's been talked about on here. I think Stephen and David or other people talk about it, sort of spoke about it anyway. But in the middle of a pandemic, are you freaking kidding me? They could have done something with these guys. And look what these guys have done. The Club or Bells Anderson, tag champs, Rich Swann, Impact champion. Matt Bennett's gone back to Ring of Honor. So these people have done stuff. Most have gone to AEW. Some. But yeah, crazy. Just
so who are you? Who's the biggest loser in this one? The people who are released, the people who haven't recovered, or WWE for doing it?
Some people like Rusev, WWE, and the Club, they could have made these into big stars. People like Curtis Axel or Bo Dallas, if I think he's gone. I suppose it's them that's losing.
Bo is hiding in the Firefly Funhouse. Nobody knows he's there.
Yeah, Charmaine. I hope. Okay.
I think Mike is still on Tessa. He's on Tessa.
Scotty's too high. Jesus.
Okay. Ricky, I think you should go on with your thought, and because they're having an entirely different conversation.
I think he's a fireman now. That's the last time I heard. The Miz is a loser.
Yeah, Charmaine is just going complete James Joyce on us now.
Completely just random things. So yeah, a big shock. All these people being released, and some of like Rusev, the Club, WWE losing out. Other people, it's the wrestlers losing out. What are your thoughts?
So we're going to call it the pandemic bus flip is the big negative writ large. I mean, you have to give it a name. It's got to have it. There's a number and a name, so it's got to have a name. You can't just say 7 guys or 20 names because that's 20, not 1.
Guessing Mike here means like a kids replica. I've got all the kids replicas. That's all I can afford. Anyway, you're number 10, I think. I'm useless.
All right, you want me to go?
Yeah.
All right. This is another countryman of yours, and ironically, I saw him earlier this night on YouTube. But this guy went from being spoken about in the same sentences as your Codys and your Moxleys and your Seths and your AJs, and now he's gone, not because of his own fault. He made a deal. He's with a company that's been impacted by it, but he's sort of going down with the ship, and his stock has really plunged. And of course, I'm talking about Captain Britain, the national treasure, Nick Aldis, the NWA champion, holding the 10 pounds of gold. And right now, I would say if it is 10 pounds of gold, he should sell it.
Again, another person, all the potential in the world, all the talent in the world. Congratulations for winning the title. I think he's held it for a while now.
Wrong. He's just a victim of the circumstances.
I think he's held it for a while now, obviously because of what's going on. But other than that, I think he's been champion for. How long has he been champion for?
It doesn't really matter anymore. I mean, nothing's happened in the last 10 months. He successfully defended against Mike Bennett on, which was sort of a painful match to watch.
And again,
so Maria goes by Mrs. Bennett now.
But she can't use Maria. Oh yeah, I was going to say Canellis, but yeah, she's Bennett. Yeah. Right. NWA, another company that came back, were doing well, and gone, and just again, I could do another show just on NWA, I think. But yeah, it does suck for Nick Aldis.
Okay, well, who you got in the 9 slot?
Back to God. Again, another person that had a killer year. This guy should probably be higher. Probably be number 1. I know it's not The Rock. You're a Universal Champion, you're a Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. What a year he's had. Returning at SummerSlam, nobody expected it. But I've got something to. I'm just going to say this, and I was going to say something else. But right, so killer year, turned heel. He's much must see. He's much watch. He's put Jey Uso's career back on track. So I think if it hadn't been the COVID, Jey Uso would be doing nothing, maybe on main event. But if it hadn't been COVID, Reigns would have been at Mania, would have won the title, wouldn't have returned, wouldn't have took time off, wouldn't be heel. So, in a way, this might sound crazy, but thank God there's been a virus because it made Reigns turn heel and made him must see. What do you think?
Well, I think 2 things. I think once your good bad alternate thing is ruining my plans for a quiet December, because the good things in wrestling was going to be another list. So so that's a show that's been impacted for the future, which either you're going to have more bad, and I'm going to have to find a lot of good, or I'm going to have to do it with somebody else. But as far as what you're saying about Roman Reigns, from his surprise return during SummerSlam to, I'd say, about 10 days ago, the best story in WWE by far, possibly the best story in wrestling, but once again made a WWE world title the most important world title in wrestling. Now, dedicated viewers of Unpopular Review have probably seen me over the last week or so panning what some of what happened at Survivor Series, some of what has happened since Survivor Series, and the SmackDown to SmackDown. And I stand by all that. I know that they work with what they're working with, but check out my SmackDown review with the bad guy from Friday night, and you can hear my little exposition on how I think WWE put itself into a losing checkmate in 2 moves without anybody making a single move. And part of it has to do with the Roman Reigns story. But the long and the short of it is that we always knew that there was going to be tension at some point between Roman and the bloodline. But I think most of us thought that the bloodline was going to grow to be more people, at least Jimmy, and that they were going to be a strong faction for a while, and the tension would come in 9 months, a year and a half. It took 1 week. So, I mean, talk about NWA. It's really like an NWA storyline where they would build a faction 1 week. 1 week, Melina comes out to help Thunder Rosa and Marty Bell or whatever, whoever else was on their side. And the next week, Thunder Rosa and Melina are already arguing about who's in charge. I mean, that's what they're doing here, and I hate it. But that's sort of off topic. But yes, Roman, for the short stint, a giant impact for sure.
Unfortunately, the only storyline they've got, but at least a good one. So
I guess it's to me on 8. And this guy was never really that big a deal, but he was in WWE. He often was in top stories or around them. A big guy, another big guy who should be in wrestling. He's one of your victims of the cuts. And as far as I know, he's had 1 match on UWN. I'm sure he's done some other indie stuff too. But while he hasn't had a fall that was dramatic because he had a title or because of any sort of controversy or anything like that, because of how much money he was making, where he was placed, and the lack of even finding a home at a place like Impact or Ring of Honor as of yet, or AEW, I went with Eric Rowan, just because he was sort of one of those guys who could, he could always at least have been a champion's heater, just a Diesel type without the Diesel star, and now he's Nowheresville.
Yeah, completely agree with all that. Again, is he a massive, massive name? No, he's not. But could have WWE made him to a star? Yes. We could have given him some sort of title tag. Well, he was tag team champion. But they could have maybe given him the US title, Intercontinental title, maybe at some point. But the storyline with the storyline,
yeah, that was terrible.
Dude, what? Who came up with that? Well, Vince came up with that, and he's booking for kids, but whatever. But that was just, you buried him, completely buried the guy. And then, this is crap. So next week after, just kill it. Did nothing for anybody. Ridiculous. But I think he could have been a big name. Maybe one day, maybe go to AEW. But do you think he could go there? Or?
I mean, everyone says he's great to work with. And I mean, I'm sure that Harper doesn't want the Rowan and Harper thing to be forever. But, you'd think that he could join the Dark Order and add some strength to it. I mean, the Dark Order has quickly gone from a Dark Order to a comedy act already. And, no matter who their numbers are, they've got 10 and 5 and Colt Cabana and whoever they are, they're meaningless. John Silver seems to be their breakout guy, and he's 5'4". So I'm sorry to say his ceiling is only so high. And he's a comedy guy, and a comedy guy doesn't really go with dark. Their best technical wrestler is probably Stu Grayson, and he doesn't say anything. So I don't know. I just feel like, because even though Rowan got cut, the expectation was that he would be one of the first guys picked up by somebody, and he wasn't. That's how he made it into my list. I mean, this is a guy who's probably making $700,000-$800,000 a year, and now is probably working for $150 a show.
Hot dog, hot dog and a handshake. There you go. Thanks on your way.
Yeah. Europe. I think you're on something. Are you on something? Yeah, no, you're on something bad now. Good. That's why I like that.
But 8. This 8, 7, 9. Where is this?
8. You're on 8.
8. Well, 8 is what you were just talking about. The Dark Order. What a fall from grace they've had. The exalted one. Who is it? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Matt Hardy, Luke Harper? Who's it going to be? Somebody else? They had traction. They were units. They were a group. They were dominating, taking over AEW. All these people in it. All these people that were going from nowhere. At least we're getting something. At least they were actually on a show. And now, yeah, like you say, a comedy act, joke. Luke Harper, the leaders, or Brody Lee, injured. Get well soon. I hope he comes back soon. I thought, and he won the title. So their leader had a title. And I thought, dominating, fantastic. But yeah, complete as utter jokes now. Losing every single week on when they are on AEW and winning no substantial matches. So yeah, that's my thoughts on them.
Yeah, well, we were unintentionally efficient because I sort of gave my thoughts on them on the tail end of the Eric Rowan thing. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I can see you're coming at it from a different perspective than me, which is amazing. I think that's great. No, Charmaine, I don't think Adam Cole will ever go to the main roster. He is NXT for life. If he goes to the main roster, people are going to laugh at him because he looks like a girl with a beard.
I think you'll get a 2-week push, maybe a month, lost in the shuffle.
All right. My number 7 is a guy that was also with a minor major promotion, but he was really enjoying a resurgence. Frankly, I had only vaguely heard of him, but he's a former NWA champion. But he was getting a cult following. His mother was getting a cult following. And now with COVID sort of impacting NWA and NWA packing up and moving from the Atlanta area to the Los Angeles area, his run has been cut off because thankfully he's got a regular job as a teacher, and he's kept that. So he didn't need to do this, but he was becoming a cult icon, sort of not quite the mainstream of the wrestling consciousness, but almost there. And this was his time, and it was sort of now or never, because I think he's around 54, 55 now. So unfortunately for him, I think the window is closed, and I'm talking about Tim Storm.
Sorry.
That's okay. It is all right. Yeah, so like I said, a minor major, if even major counts. Major just based on history alone, not on current status, to be frank.
Give me 1 second, well, 2 seconds. I just need the toilets. I'll be back in 1 minute. So just...
Do you want me to skip ahead? I'm going to skip ahead, audience, while Ricky has to take a spot. I'm doing my number 6 negative, and my fall for grace is Maria Manick. She was poised to be a big star in Ring of Honor. I think they were going to build their women's division around her. She was likely to be their champion, probably feuding with the Allure. It looked that way, and got herself mixed up with Teddy Hart. He sort of dragged her down, but she may have been dragged down anyway. Who knows? Not sure if Ring of Honor is rehiring her. I'm not sure if Ring of Honor is even going to have women's wrestling anymore, although I've seen the Allure on vignettes with Quid McKay. So I guess that sort of answers that. And also Session Martina. But I'm not really sure about what her future looks like. But Maria Manick is my number 6. And Ricky is back. So take it away, Rick.
Sorry about that. I missed that completely. I wasn't listening. Sorry.
It's all right. I just went ahead without you with number 6.
What was your number 6?
Maria Manick.
Martina. Super hot. So we'll run a commercial now. This is an upcoming movie. Good movie. So let me just play this commercial. Oh, there it is. Yes. So this is an upcoming movie. I think it's tonight. Okay, it is tonight.
My job is to prevent World War III, Admiral.
Now, the world has only one chance for peace.
When will our ships be in position? 48 hours.
And just one man for the job.
Bond. James Bond.
And we're back. That was quick.
Yes, that's Tomorrow Never Dies. Right after this show. Good film. So very quickly, what have you seen? Tomorrow Never Dies.
Well, you're up. We left off. I did 2 in a row. I did Tim Storm at 7 and Maria Manic with 6. So you can do 2 if you like. 1 good, 1 bad, whichever order you prefer.
7 and then 6. So 7. Good again then. I will stick with the Samoan dynasty. Jey Uso come from not nothing, but I want to say that when the tag team, when he's injured, look at is it Eric? Ivar's injured, and Eric's gone to nothing. And I think that Roman Reigns has saved Jay's career. Jay would have gone the same way had it not been for Reigns. 2 title shots in the main event for Clash of Champions, in the main event for Hell in a Cell. Well, not main event, opening match. Making history for Survivor Quit match. He's on the Survivor Series team. Main event in SmackDown. His career is booming. And all thanks to Roman Reigns. What are your thoughts on Jay?
I mean, it's almost the exact same thoughts as Roman Reigns. So on one side, I agree with you, but the last 10 days, I think it's been pretty bad. They've had Jay acting like a sort of almost like a petulant teenager, so huffing and puffing and wanting dad's approval. And part of it's not him. It's Roman, but I'm sure it's what they script for Roman and Jay as well. But I don't know. The mannerisms have been weird. The story, again, we always knew that at some point Jay or somebody was going to start fouling Roman and fouling the bloodline. I just didn't know it was going to be 2 weeks after they united that they would start being ununited, deunited. But yeah, I mean, if I ever thought that Jey Uso was going to get 2 or 3 title shots and pin AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, and Daniel Bryan in a 2-month span, no, certainly not. So can't argue with that.
So my number 6 was, I'll pick up on my thought that like I said earlier, and that's Impact. Another fairly big company. One day could have been competition for WWE, not anymore. Sorry, Impact. Impact Wrestling. Yes, there could be competition one day for WWE. Could have been. So not so much anymore, and never going to be, but could have been. They've got some. It's kind of good and bad because they've got some big stars in the club. After that, it's kind of who they got. Hornswoggle. But again, no crowd. It must be very hard working to no crowd. Even for the pay-per-views, again, no crowd, no audience, and I think that makes people turn off and not want to watch and think, well, this is not really good because they're not working to the crowd, they're not getting that reaction. The crowd really make wrestling. It's been said thousands of times. So yeah, that was, and I think unfortunately, another 2 years and I think they're going to be done. What do you think?
I think being an Impact fan is sort of like being Sisyphus. You keep pushing that boulder up the hill and it keeps falling down and rolling back over you, and you start over again. I mean, the amount of times I heard that Impact can be competition for WWE is insane. Impact can barely be competition for Impact. Impact isn't even competition for TNA reruns. Impact is so far below WWE, NXT, and AEW. It's silly. And I think it's going to be in very short order. They're going to be very far behind Ring of Honor. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're not already surpassed by MLW. No, I can't call Impact a fall from grace because I think they fell from grace ever since Jeff Jarrett and Dixie Carter ruined their books. I mean, LOL TNA is an expression in the IWC for a reason. My phone knows when I type LOL, it puts TNA next to it in all caps. I never say LOL unless I mean LOL TNA. I just realized that you actually should do it so people know you're joking as being a swarmy dick. I thought people used it to say they were a swarmy dick. I just learned it was code for I'm not being a swarmy dick. I'm tongue in cheek. But no, I mean, again, I respect the bold pick, but I don't think Impact was ever anywhere that it could. I think Impact's exactly where it should be, nowhere.
I think that when they were doing all the broken stuff with Matt Hardy, that's their best period, and I thought, yeah, there could be competition one day, but now,
Sure.
not at all.
And then he left, and Jeff left, and Jeremy Borash left, and everyone that was a part of that left. So, you know, even Gregory Helms, you know, left. So.
It is what it is.
All right, so I guess it's back to me. My number 5, and this is the Dirty 5. This guy hasn't really been around for a while, but he's never quite gone, and he's had a history of bad years, and actually he just recently had a legally what seems like a good break for him, but I still don't think, based on his age and the severity of the accusations and his reputation generally, that he's going to work again, and that's Alberto Del Rio. So he's my number 5. Shit guy.
Again, super talented. He had some great matches, not great, but good matches in WWE. From a 2-time WWE champion, US champion, I think. I think he won the US title, Money in the Bank winner. So some big things. And the stuff he's been doing is proper, really dodgy, really horrible. I think he's out of jail, so that's good for him. But yeah, feel a little bit sorry for him. Nobody wants that kind of stuff to happen to him, but he has brought it on himself with all the violent, horrible things he did. So whatever, fuck him.
I'm not convinced he's innocent. I mean, it took a long time for her to do this, and this is not uncommon in domestic violence cases for the battered spouse to sort of recant late stage, and his family comes from money. I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't a civil settlement. Call me a cynic.
As long as he's not back in wrestling anytime soon, that's fine, even though I believe Vince wants him back.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're number 5. I think you're back to something good. That's right.
I'm going to pick an AEW wrestler. Somebody that's only recently made it big with people putting him over, and that is none other than your freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. Beginning of the year, last year, nothing. Win the odd match here and there. Bit of a character. Funny, but last 2 minutes. But thanks to Chris Jericho putting this guy over, not once, but twice. This guy's a star. Some fantastic matches with Cody Rhodes. This guy's a star. So definitely, he's made the best of what's been going on, made the best of the virus, made the best of only 1,000 fans in AEW. So for me, Orange Cassidy highlights. What's your opinions on the dude?
He has an original gimmick. I respect him for that. He's a comedy character who knows how to work the comedy. I give him that. For most of his time with AEW, they booked him pretty darn good, close to perfect, like the street fight with Best Friends and PNP comes to mind. Also, the original Inner Circle fight with I don't remember who it was exactly, but anyway, I think it was Cody, Dustin, a couple other faces, maybe the Bucks, when they threw someone into the bathroom and the bathroom door flies open and Orange Cassidy's just sort of standing there. Stuff like that was really funny. I think his push, now, A Tale of Two Cities. On one side, you're right. He is definitely a star with the AEW faithful and the AEW fans, or at least a large percentage of them. So let's just agree for the moment that they have 700,000 diehard fans. So I would say that probably 550,000 of those fans love Orange Cassidy. I think that's his ceiling. Every time they feature him, with I think one exception, which was a major match, it's been either the first or second lowest rated segment. He is a casual wrestling fan, Venom. He's a channel changer for a lot of people who just see a 130-pound guy looking ridiculous standing toe-to-toe with a Brody Lee or a Lance Archer or a Brian Cage or whatever the case may be. But as far as him doing well for himself and being well-positioned in the company he's in, sure, that's what a guy's supposed to do. So he's definitely gotten himself over, or the fans have gotten him over, and he's definitely got a dedicated fan base. He moves merchandise. So objectively speaking, in that frame, for sure. I just think that at some point the glass in that frame is going to break, because I think that he is overexposed, and I call him overripe Cassidy. But there's no doubt that he's had a really good year.
Very quickly, I'll take about 10 seconds to say this. AEW, people stars, you don't go, right, you're over, or you become too high and time to bury you, like WWE. They let people be as big as they want, so that's good for what AEW do.
Okay. Well, I guess it's to me. Luckily, we've already covered this person. Number 4, Tessa Blanchard. We already talked about it. I just think that because the world was her oyster, she was poised to be, she could have done anything in wrestling. And because she's fallen so far, she just made it higher up on my list than on yours.
Yeah. I think she's done go down bad, like making history. First ever Impact World Champion, Men's World Champion, but then won't give the title back, and now she's disappearing into nothing. So it's kind of go down bad. But do you guys see you coming to WWE anytime soon? Maybe the Rumble or maybe Mania.
Yeah, I think that she will be in WWE. I think that they will make her go to NXT to test her humble pie-ness. Apparently, they've talked to her and they haven't really liked her. I always thought that there's no way she could go to AEW because several of the women who spoke out against her were with AEW, but I'm not sure that they still are. So I'm not sure how that stands. I mean, Tully's there, so you can never rule it out, but they're also very public. You know, they have their PR is more important to them from the wrestling fan perspective than WWE's is. WWE cares what Wall Street cares about their PR, that they're doing, you know, Make-A-Wish, and that they're doing tribute for the troops and sort of this high level stuff. Wall Street doesn't care about necessarily what their talent's doing unless you have like a Chris Benoit situation or something like that. So yeah, I do think that Tessa will make her way to WWE through NXT if she gets her ego in check, or at least pretends. There's just too much. I mean, the Charlotte Flair match, the horse women, you know, a new 4 horse women faction. I mean, they could rule women's wrestling for 10 years, you know, with combinations there.
Do you think that who her father is gives her that push to start with, or do you think she'll have to work for it?
I mean, I think it got her through the door, but no, I mean, she's worked hard. She's built like a brick shit house. She dolls herself up to be attractive enough to people. She's very athletic. She's very talented. I mean, she's wrestled intergender. No, I think that she's made her way through the world. It certainly didn't hurt her. But like Randy Orton, I mean, he became a wrestler because his father was Ace Orton. But you know, he sort of exceeded Bob Orton. I'm not saying that she's exceeded Tully, but you know, that got her in the door. But she made her own way. It's not like I don't know, like Sam Houston, who was Grizzly Smith's son, you know, Jake Roberts' brother, who never did anything. You know, or Kendall Windham. It's not one of those situations. So yeah, that's what I think. So we're either down to your 4 or my 3. I can't remember which. Your 4?
Yeah, I can't remember what number 5 was. Oh, it's Impact, yes.
I do, it was Impact, yeah.
Yes, 4. Well, let's go with the surprise of the year. Beginning of the year at the Royal Rumble, none other than the return of Edge. Lots of rumours about it, but I didn't expect it. I don't think anybody actually thought he was coming back. What a hell of a pop. Great to see him back. Still in shape. How old is he? 46, 47?
Yep.
Something like
around there.
And he's very much in shape. Put on a hell of a performance. A hell of a match at Mania. And has been must-see since coming back. Unfortunately, he got injured at Backlash. Whether they'll pick up that rivalry, most probably next year. but definitely the return of Edge would play the biggest surprise of this year. What did you think?
Yeah, it was a nice story. I mean, we sort of talked about it earlier, so we can be efficient here. I think people heard my thoughts mostly. I was never that big an Edge fan. I also really took a time off from being a full-time wrestling fan, probably around his best years, like sort of like 2003, like right around the WCW invasion angle, through like the pipe bomb was probably my hiatus. Like the Shield was still around, but they were starting to break them off, like when I came back. So I probably missed his best years, but I kept my eyes on things. And, I know about him and Matt Hardy. I liked his stuff with Lita, but that might have had to do more with Lita's top than anything else. But so the excitement really wasn't there for me. I never really got past Edge as the tag team wrestler, part of the Brood. And, but yeah, it's a nice story. I thought that the promo work and the story with Orton was well crafted. I am not a match artistry guy per se, and I thought that the first match was way too long, and then the second match they made it longer. So, and then he got hurt and tore his triceps. So yeah, it's a good story, but it's a good story with a incomplete on it. But I can certainly see if you were an Edge fan that you would pop for that, and that would be a highlight of your year. So I certainly respect the pick. It just wouldn't be in mine. Maybe very quick surprise of the year because I didn't see him coming back because I know he's got an acting career going.
Very quickly, I thought the match at Backlash was good. All you had finishing moves from other wrestlers. You had the piped in crowd. Made it what it was. It made it feel big, but anyway. People like what they like, I suppose.
Yeah. So we're down to my bottom three. So this guy just got out of jail, and he just got out of about the third jail he's been in this year. A guy that's been around and always been around and sort of was circling the minor majors and was rumored to have interest from AEW, but had a lot of things swirling around him from one of the most famous, if not the most famous, wrestling family, at least North American wrestling family anyway. That's probably undisputed. And, he destroyed more than one life, but it seems like mostly his own. And at his age, I don't think there's any recovery for him based on his social media and YouTube presence, plus his whatever charges may or may not still be existing, or whatever ones he's almost certain to get, because there doesn't seem to be a probation or a parole term that he can't violate. So I'm, of course, speaking about Brett's least favorite nephew at this point, Teddy Hart. Did I take you by surprise?
No.
Okay.
So give me 1 second. Okay. I've heard of the name. I've heard of things he's done.
Oh, you don't know who he is?
Do you? If he is. But I presume he's part of the Hart family.
Well, he is Brett's legit blood nephew. He was part of the new Hart Foundation with Harry Smith, or Davey Boy Smith Jr., and Brian Pillman Jr. in MLW. And they were having a pretty good renaissance. He's been around the indies. He was rumored to be in talks with Ring of Honor when Maria was starting to get her push there. And there was also interest, at least he said there was interest from AEW, but it makes sense since they like having those wrestling names in there, and he was friendly with a bunch of the guys. But anyway, that's my pick. It's okay that you don't know him because he was mostly an indie guy and probably didn't go past here. But yeah, it looks like we've got to speed things up. So let's bring it on home.
Did I give it away that I didn't really know him? Anyway, we've got 10 minutes here. So number 3. Let's make this quick then. So I'll keep it short and sweet. So the Undertaker's final farewell. Why was this bad? Because it should have been in front of a crowd. The thing that he did, Paul Bearer, the lightning, all that, fantastic. But that should have been in front of a crowd, like Ric Flair. And I think it will. I think when he goes into the Hall of Fame, that's his final send-off. He'll do something at Mania, and he's gone. Probably never seen again, I would have thought. Whether he goes in next year or the year after, we'll have to wait and see. But for me, yeah, that should have been done in front of a crowd. The Undertaker deserves it. And for bloody COVID, we can't do it. So what did you think? Should it have been in front of a crowd?
I don't know. I talked about this with some other folks. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was well done. It's very hard to believe his retirement since he's retired so many times before. It was a little bit awkward. I mean, there were great parts and bad parts. I think it was better to lend itself to Raw to get that pop, to let those superstars of old get a little bit more time and let a larger audience see them. I also think it overshadowed the Survivor Series. But if he's really retired, I mean, I think that's probably as good a send-off. There would be complaints about any send-off. So I don't have much more to say on that. I'm going to go straight to my number 2. This guy could be number 1 because this guy was poised to be everyone. Everybody wanted this guy. He was going to be in AEW. He was going to be the exalted one. He got the biggest contract ever in Ring of Honor history. He made the head booker. He had reformed the relationship, or it seemed he reformed the relationship because everything fell in after he got that job. So also in Ring of Honor and New Japan, people were appearing on future cards. They were going to have a super card around WrestleMania in Lakeland or Lakewood, Florida, and then you were seeing that. He was appearing on NWA Power, so there were cross stories there. So there was a working relationship with NWA as well. And then Speaking Out came out, and it turned out that this guy's terrible. And he's recently been disappeared off the Ring of Honor website. Nobody's talking about him. Some fans still seem to think that he's AEW bound. I think they're delusional. And I'm, of course, talking about Marty Scurll, the villain who lived up to his name as well.
I mean, I'll again keep this short and sweet. Again, another person I met, another person was nice with me. Again, super talented. I've seen him live. When I went to the Ring of Honor back in October, he was there. Him and Flip going up on a fantastic match. But yeah, the things he's done can't excuse them. And hopefully he can somehow get help and get back into wrestling. Maybe does he go to AEW? We'll have to wait and see, but probably not. So 2 going to be The Rock. Look at Chris now.
Oh my God.
Not The Rock. But somebody who's had a killer year. Your only second AEW champion, Jon Moxley. What a champion he's been. What a year he's had. He's made AEW must see. Yeah, and I think he loses it to Omega tomorrow. If he does, what a run he's had. Yeah, Jon Moxley, for me, I know Stephen doesn't like him, but for me, he's must see on AEW. Cuts great promos, and AEW allowing him to cut those promos. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I never loved Dean Ambrose. I don't love Jon Moxley, but you cannot deny the year the man has had. And, he went from being sort of one of the guys to being one of the guys. I'm still not going to say he's the face of AEW. I don't think he is. I think that's still Jericho or Cody, but he's had a banger of a year. He's been a fighting champion. I don't know that his character is that much different than Dean Ambrose, but so what? He's turned it up 1 or 2 on volume, and it's been cool. So yeah, I agree with you. And again, we're a little bit time pressed, but I don't have much to add to what I just said. It would just be, the same thoughts in different words. It's had a great year. Objectively speaking, there's no one that can dispute that Jon Moxley's had probably a career year for him.
Definitely.
So my number 1, and it probably doesn't surprise anyone who's been listening based on the amount of people I've named from this little promotion, but NWA, which was getting a cult following, was getting about 220,000 people a week to watch it on YouTube. Seemed to be on the cusp of this relationship with Ring of Honor, which was sort of derailed by COVID, and then Marty. Who knows if they would have been included with the New Japan thing, because that could have been huge for them and for some young lions with New Japan on excursion, et cetera, and if that could have tied into CMLL too. So, it looked like they were on the cusp of things. They got hit with a triple whammy. COVID, speaking out, Marty, which completely knocked them off their socks. So they had to pick up and move from Georgia to Los Angeles, which, they lost a bunch of their talent who was close by there. It's probably made things very difficult for some of their other talent. Like I know Trevor Murdoch is still there and holds a title, but I can't imagine that's easy from him going from, I think he lives in like Alabama, but he's in the Southeast for sure, getting to Los Angeles, whatever it is, 5 times a year or whatever for a weekend. But also they had just departures, people asking for their release. Eddie Kingston just basically walked out on them. You've got Serena Deeb, who is their current champion, who is actually under contract to AEW. You have Thunder Rosa, who was their champion and is under contract to NWA, but is actively lobbying for a job with AEW and has appeared far more in AEW than she has been on NWA. They lost Ricky Starks, who's become a big deal in AEW. Zicky Dice, I think, left wrestling. So, Royce Isaacs, who was a member of Strictly Business, asked for his release and was granted it. So Allison Kay, her contract has expired. Not that these are all big names, but these were big parts of their promotion. Marty, Tasha Steeles, her contract also ran up. So Allison Vox also no longer with the company. So, I mean, not big stars, but just a whole lot of people. And then there's also the rumors of Melina swirling around, and who knows what's going on with that. But yeah, this is a promotion that seems to be, gone. So the 3 strikes, COVID, speaking out, and contract issues. That's my number one, NWA, biggest victim of the year.
I'll keep it very quick then. Seen bits of NWA on YouTube. Wade Barrett was there, and they were doing very well. Come back, they were killing it. Had people watching them, but yeah, now probably hopefully not done. And hope we can get back on track. So my number one is going to be the biggest show of the year with no fans, WrestleMania. I'll keep this very quick. So no fans at WrestleMania. It was a good show. They put on a fantastic show. So certainly the opening felt it. It made it feel big, but the theatre really felt there was no fans. It was in the performance centre. They did what they could. It was as good as it was very disappointing and quite depressing. But they did what they could to entertain us, so I can't blame them for that. And at least we still got wrestling with a virus. But what do you think?
I thought the Boneyard match was a lot of fun, and I thought the Firefly Funhouse match, if you can call a match, was the most fun I've had watching wrestling since the Broken Hardy, deletion matches on the Hardy compound. I know that not everyone loved it, but I did. Aside from that, I didn't think WrestleMania was great, but everything gets a COVID curve. But I do want to express before we're cut off that, audience, I'd like to hear from you. I want to know what your lists are. Who do you think fell from grace, or who do you think went from high to low for whatever reason, whether it's fault of their own or not, whether it's a promotion or whatever? I'd like to hear from you. And so, message us at Unpopular Review on Twitter or whatnot. Ricky's going to go through all the places. I mean, the golden one. And we want to hear what your thoughts are and what other lists maybe we should do for this end of year, because all the promotions are going to be doing years in review. So, we're going to be working on some lists too. So let us know what you want to hear about.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, follow us, like us, share, get your comments in. If you're watching it on YouTube, so subscribe, follow us on Popular Review. So we're gonna have to wrap this up right now. There's gonna be a show right after us. The UPR Entertainment crew are reviewing Tomorrow Never Dies. Good film.
Yeah. Stay right here. Don't leave. Don't change that channel.
So it's good night from me. And I wonder if I'll play. Do you want to say good night, Jeff? Or
Tut cheerio. Old boy.
good night, everyone.
Cheers, mate.